Hi everyone, a lot of my students have been asking me how to answer common need interview questions for roles like Junior Cloud Engineer, DevOps Engineer, or Platform Engineer. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 common need interview questions that frequently appear in technical interviews and how to answer them in a professional and practical way. And more importantly, how to think through troubleshooting like a real cloud engineer. Because in real interviews, hiring managers are not just looking for textbook definitions. They want to see how you think, how you troubleshoot problems, and whether you truly understand it in real world environments. So in this video, I will not just explain the answers. I'll also demonstrate the actual direct commands engineers use every day. Alright, let's get started. Okay. Third question: if a Linux server is running slowly, what would you check first? This is one of the most commonly troubleshooting interview questions. Okay, one of the biggest mistake candidates make is answering, "I would retap the server." Instead, you need to demonstrate that you can troubleshoot step by step in a logical way. So a strong answer would be something like this. First, I would check the server's CPU usage to see whether the CPU load is abnormally high. Top, okay, or head top, okay. Next, I would check memory usage. Free with option M, okay. Then I would check the space usage. DF, okay. And after that, I would review the system logs to look for errors or abnormal behavior. The no CTL. Okay, so as you can see, the goal is to identify the root cause first instead of randomly restarting the server. Okay. Second question: how do you check running processing Linux? You know, to check running processes, you can use commands like ps AUS, enter, clear, and with the top command, we can monitor processing real time, enter, okay. If you want to find the process consuming the most memory, so equal mem, enter, okay. And if we want to identify the process using the mode CPU, enter. Okay, in real cloud environments, engineers use these commands almost every day. Okay, we have third question. What is the difference between queue and queue with option 9? This is another very common technical interview question. You can answer it like this. The queue command sends a system signal which allows the process to submit carefully. PID. On the other hand, queue with option 9 sends a secure signal which forcefully stops the process immediately. For example, here we can see a process consuming nearly 100% CPU to confirm that our run. Okay, okay. Then we can use queue with option 9 with the process uh, ID to terminate it immediately. Okay, okay. And now the process has been stopped successfully. Okay. The question: what does chmod 755 mean? This is one of the most common delete permissions interview questions. For example, let's say I have a shell script and I want to make it executable. Chmod 755 script. Okay, and here's what 755 means. 7 means RWS. So the owner has read, write, and execute permissions. 5 means S. So the group can read and execute. Okay? And the last 5 also means RS, which means others can read and execute. Okay? This permission are one of the most important foundation of this server security, especially in cloud environments. How do you check open ports on Linux? You can use commands like this as with option T U L and P, enter. Okay, or let's start with option T U L and P. Okay. Okay. The commands help us identify which services are listening on which ports, debug network connectivity, troubleshoot applications. In cloud and DevOps environments, network troubleshooting happens almost everywhere. Okay, what is the difference between a public IP and a private IP? You know, a server with a public IP can be accessed directly from the internet. For example, this EC2 instance has a public IP. Okay, so users can access it from the internet. A private IP, on the other hand, is only used inside an internal network. For example, this same EC2 instance also has a private IP for internal communication. Some common private IP registers are 10.s.s.s, uh, 172.16.s.s, 192.168. Okay, this basic networking knowledge, but it's extremely important in AWS, Azure, and cloud computing. Okay, if a website is down, what do you check? There's another interview question where many junior engineers struggle. One of the most common bad answers is I would restart the web service or reboot the server. Instead, you should troubleshoot step by step. First, check whether the web service is running. System CTL stated the web service. Okay, then check the logs. The no CTL. Okay, like that local connectivity. Okay, and finally verify that correct posts are listening. Okay, when troubleshooting, remember always follow a logical process instead of guessing randomly. Okay, What is the difference between Docker containers and virtual machines? A simple and professional answer would be a virtual machine equals a full operating system. On the other hand, Docker containers share the whole OS kernel, which makes them much lighter and much faster to start. Docker, yes, okay, Docker image, okay, and additionally, if the interviewer asks what problem does Docker solve, you can answer Docker has developers package application together with all dependencies. Uh, so the application runs consistently across different environments. Okay? Yeah, you know, this question is very easy to answer. Okay? Actually, DNS is the system that translates domain names into IP addresses. And if DNS has a problem, users might not be able to access the website even if the server itself is still running properly. For example, instead of remembering Google's IP address, we simply type the google.com, okay, or ns lookup, okay. The rest issues are some of the most common problems in real-world troubleshooting, okay. The final question: how do you use ChatGPT or AI tools in your work? Interestingly, this has become one of the most common interview questions in today's cloud and DevOps interviews. A bad answer would be I just copy everything from ChatGPT. Instead, a much stronger answer would be I use AI tools to learn faster, debug issues, generate scripts, understand concepts more easily. But I always verify everything using real testing, logs, official documentation. Today companies really value engineers who learn quickly and use AI effectively, but do not depend entirely on AI. Okay? These are all basic leading interview questions, but what really makes you stand out in an interview is your troubleshooting mindset, your ability to explain clearly, and your ability to solve problems step by step logically. Remember, technical interviews are not about memorizing theory, they are about solving real world problems. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more real world cloud and DevOps content. And comment below. If you want me to make part two covering topics like internet interview question, Docker interview question, troubleshooting, scenarios, DevOps interview simulations. And one more thing, even if you already have some Linux experience, I still strongly recommend learning Linux properly and systematically because Linux is the core foundation of cloud DevOps and platform engineering. Once the Linux fundamentals are strong, learning AWS, Docker, Kubernetes, and DevOps becomes much easier. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay?